Today, they want you dumb, and it's been that way for a long time, but this was not always the case. There was a time when education meant elevation. Not credentialing, not compliance, not babysitting, but elevation. A child was expected to become more capable than the generation before them, more articulate, more disciplined, more dangerous intellectually. But now, every generation seems slightly softer, slightly slower, slightly less capable of deep thought than the one before. Smaller vocabularies, lower attention spans, worse reading comprehension, less independence, less memory retention, less practical skill, less patience, less ability to reason through complexity without emotional collapse. And the uncomfortable question is this: what if this was not an accident, but by design? What if the system is functioning exactly as it was designed? And let's start with something almost nobody talks about anymore: Friedrich Fröbel. Friedrich Fröbel invented the concept of kindergarten in the 1800s. Most people hear that and imagine harmless finger painting and snack time. But the original philosophical framework was deeper than that. Fröbel believed children should be shaped collectively and at very young ages through structured environments, guided play, synchronized behavior, songs, routines, and social conditioning. The German state loved it. Not because it created geniuses, but because it created manageable citizens, compliance. That model spread across the industrial world right as mass industrialization required compliant factory workers, obedient soldiers, punctual clerks, and standardized populations. Education slowly transformed from the cultivation of exceptional individuals into the manufacturing of socially functional units. Uniformity became the goal. And once uniformity became the goal, independent thought becomes a problem. Fast forward to today. Look at vocabulary collapse alone. Studies have shown that average conversational vocabulary has shrunk dramatically over generations. Not because humans became biologically less intelligent, but because linguistic environments collapsed. Short-form content replaced long-form reading, screens replaced books, emojis replaced descriptive language, and compression replaced nuance. A person with a large vocabulary has more than better words. They have more categories of thought. Language is cognitive infrastructure. If you cannot precisely describe something, you often cannot precisely think about it. And that's why authoritarian systems throughout history always simplify language, reduce vocabulary, reduce complexity, reduce independent reasoning. Because people who cannot articulate subtle distinctions cannot effectively challenge systems. And you can literally watch this happen in real time. Previous generations read newspapers cover to cover, long books, essays, dense arguments, technical manuals, philosophy, history. Now, entire populations consume information through 15-second clips engineered by algorithms that optimize emotional stimulation and not comprehension. And the result? People can recognize patterns emotionally without understanding systems intellectually. They feel everything. They understand almost nothing. Then there's cursive. At first glance, cursive disappearing seems trivial. Who cares if kids can't write fancy loops anymore? But cursive wasn't just aesthetics. It trained fine motor coordination, memory sequencing, discipline, and neural integration between language and physical execution. Writing by hand activates the brain differently than tapping glass screens. Multiple studies have shown handwriting improves retention, comprehension, and idea formation. Now, many young people can barely sign their own names. An entire skill chain vanished in one generation because keyboards were more efficient. But efficient for what? Certainly not for cognition. And then comes reading comprehension. This is where things become genuinely alarming. Large percentages of adults now struggle to read beyond middle school levels. Many students can decode words phonetically, but cannot synthesize meaning across paragraphs. They can consume fragments, but cannot sustain concentration through layered arguments. This creates a civilization vulnerable to manipulation, because once people stop reading deeply, they stop thinking deeply. And if you can't think deeply, you become emotionally programmable. You react instead of analyze. You repeat instead of reason. You join instead of investigate. Even basic practical competencies are evaporating. There are now young adults who cannot read analog clocks. And think about that for a second. For thousands of years, humans tracked cyclical systems through physical observation: time, seasons, agriculture, navigation, mechanics. Now, entire populations can only interpret time when a machine converts it into simplified digital abstraction for them. Again, individually, this sounds small, but collectively, it's civilization-level dependency. Every removed skill increases reliance on systems. Can't navigate? Use GPS. Can't remember? Use your phone. Can't spell? Autocorrect. Can't calculate? Calculator. Can't research? Algorithmic feed. Can't focus? Dopamine entertainment loop. One dependency is not catastrophic. 10 dependencies create helplessness. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. A population that cannot think critically is easier to govern economically, politically, and culturally. Modern economy does not necessarily reward wisdom, but it does reward consumption. You do not need an informed, highly literate, deeply analytical population to maintain a consumer economy. You do need emotionally activated buyers. You need distracted workers. You need people too exhausted, entertained, chemically stimulated, financially stressed, and cognitively fragmented to challenge underlying systems. And the incentives reflect that reality everywhere. Social media rewards outrage over insight. News rewards fear over understanding. Entertainment rewards stimulation over reflection. Education rewards memorization over reasoning. Corporations reward compliance over originality. And the result is a societal drowning in information while starving for wisdom. But here's the good news. This creates massive opportunity for anyone willing to reverse course. Because when standards collapse, even moderate competence becomes extraordinary. In a diluted, competitive environment, basic discipline becomes a superpower. Read books consistently, you're ahead. Speak clearly, you're further ahead. Understand finance, oh boy, are you ahead. Maintain attention for an hour, way ahead. Exercise regularly, you're ahead. Write effectively, you're ahead. Learn history, you're ahead. Control impulses, you are ahead. The bar is collapsing everywhere. And that means the rewards for escaping the collapse become enormous. You do not need to become a genius to dominate a weakened field. You simply need to become uncommon. And here's the constructive part that nobody tells young people. You can rebuild yourself incredibly fast because so few people are even trying anymore. Start reading real books again, not summaries, not clips, full books. Actually, eyes on paper. Build vocabulary intentionally. Look up words. Use them. Learn cursive. Practice sustained concentration. Sit with difficult material without switching tabs every 20 seconds. Learn analog systems. Read maps. Read clocks. Do mental math. Study history because every modern manipulation has an ancient version. Exercise because physical discipline transfers into mental discipline. And most importantly, protect your attention. Attention is the real currency of the 21st century. Whoever controls your attention controls your mind, your purchases, your emotions, your beliefs, and eventually your life. The system profits from fragmented people. Your advantage comes from becoming integrated again. Calm, focused, literate, physically capable, historically aware, financially competent, emotionally controlled. That combination is becoming rare, and rarity creates value. The irony is that few generations may actually have enormous opportunity Future generations may have actually enormous opportunity precisely because so many people are becoming cognitively weaker. In a world addicted to distraction, depth becomes power. In a world of noise, clarity becomes power. In a world of emotional manipulation, independent thought becomes power. So no, hope is not lost, but passive people will lose. The people who win the next 20 years will not necessarily be the most credentialed. They will be the people who can still think. And increasingly, that alone will separate you from the crowd. And now you know the rest of the story for why they want you dumb. Come back tomorrow for part 2. Who profits from you being dumb and why? Build that stack. iBankerU. Good day.